quit. Welcome, everybody. Here we go. Happy Monday. It is that time again. Matt Connarton Unleashed, and we are live from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM in glorious, and it is glorious, bright, sunny downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. Of course, we're also streaming online, audio only, but we are not on the Facebook currently, or on Comcast 97 due to a bit of a technical issue with the camera system here at WMNH. So that, that is being worked on. It will be resolved hopefully soon, but not today, my friends. And so we are audio only. So hopefully you're either listening in your vehicle as you make your afternoon commute on the FM radio, WMNH 95.3, or of course, you can stream the audio. There are multiple options to do that. In fact, you can see the full list if you go to mattconnarton.com and click Listen Live. You'll see your options there, of course, the WMNHradio.org. You can stream there, IPM Nation, our friends at Raw Talk Online, so on and so forth, and right there on mattconnarton.com. But also on the website, you can leave comments there, just so you know. So if you go to mattconnarton.com and click Listen Live, and it takes you to the Matt Connarton Unleashed page on the site, there is a place there where you can leave comments, and I will keep an eye on that during the show. So if you're someone who normally comments in the Facebook live chat, this is an alternative for you. And of course, you can always post directly to the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page, or private message me that way too. So even though we don't have the traditional Facebook live chat room up and going, you can still communicate through the Facebook. You can also email me, matt@mattconnarton.com, and you can reach me via Twitter at Matt Connarton. Please follow me on Twitter if you haven't done so already, and you can tweet me that way. So there are other ways to communicate, but you can't see me. You can only hear me. But that is the most important part, is it not? It is, after all, a radio show. So here we are. Welcome. It is a Monday, March 1, 2021. Doesn't it seem like March comes early? It does, actually, because February is only 28 days, most years. But it is also, my friends, in my mind, in my world, the first day of spring. And I've mentioned this on the show before, but for those who, for the uninitiated, let me explain. Yes, I realize that spring does not actually begin until, what is it, the March 22nd, 23rd, 24th, around there? I think it's the 23rd. I want to say the 23rd. But, according to the calendar, if you want to pay any attention to that. But I long ago adapted my father's viewpoint on it. My father, he's always said this to me. He likes to think of winter, just psychologically, he likes to think of winter as only being January and February, only being 2 months long. And his logic is most of December is technically still fall anyway, right? And you usually don't get to the really harsh weather consistently until you get to January. So then you've got January and February to contend with. And then once you get to March, usually most years things start to warm up. Beginning of March, it can kind of go either way. You know, it might start to get really nice really quickly, or it might be every bit as cold as February. I mentioned on the show the other day, I remember that one year where we had a really easy spring-like February. The entire month of February was super easy, and it was like, oh, that was another easy winter come and gone. And then March showed up and just kicked us in the groin over and over again with one enormous blizzard after another. It was horrible. It was like the worst March ever, an easy February and a terrible March. But here's the thing. even if March is terrible in the beginning, you know you're in the home stretch. So you don't care at that point much, right? So in my mind, in the mind of my father and in mine, March 1st is the first day of spring. So happy spring, everybody. I hereby declare it spring. Yes, I am aware that even though we've had some mild warmth, that tonight, apparently, the temperature is supposed to plummet and it's going to be very, very cold. But that is an aberration, my friends. The warm weather will be back soon enough. It is spring. Just go with it. Just, unless you're someone who enjoys winter, unless you're one of those weirdos, there are people like that. By the way, any of you who actually enjoy the winter weather, I don't judge, but at least I try not to judge out loud. Silently, I think that you're crazy. Well, I guess not so silently because I'm saying it here on the air. But I mean, if we were to meet, say I were to meet you in person off the air, and you said to me, yeah, I actually kind of like winter. Winter's my favorite season. I like the cold. I like the snow, whatever. I will not judge you openly. But in my mind, silently, I am judging you. I am judging you as an insane, crazy person. So much so that you might notice me trying to get the heck away from you as quickly as I can, because I think you're legitimately dangerous if you enjoy winter. Anyway, so always happy to see it go. Summer is my favorite time of year. It can be as hot as can be. It doesn't bother me at all. I don't like the cold, but I actually enjoy the heat. I'm one of those odd people. You might think I'm very strange. I not only don't mind the heat, I actually enjoy it. I revel in it. When it's 90 degrees outside, I'm a happy guy. Strange, huh? I don't know. I'd rather be hot than cold, that's for sure. Anyway. So as we begin the new week, let me give the numbers: 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. You can also text me. We do have a text line, which I forgot to open on my computer. So let me make sure I do that, because if I don't open it, I won't see it when you text me. 617-917-4476. If you would like to text me. Okay. Sorry, somebody was just sending me a message about a surprise that is not happening today, but it's happening tomorrow. Anyway, I can't tell you what it is because that would ruin the surprise, but I also can't tell you what it is because I don't know what the surprise is. Only the person who was messaging me knows what the surprise is, and that person ain't telling me what the surprise is, probably because I have loose lips. I mean, I go around openly admitting that I silently judge people who like winter. So call us, 603-250-6007. Text us, 617-917-4476. Tweet me at Matt Connarton, or send an email to matt@mattconnerton.com. And if you are just joining us, no, the Facebook live chat is not an option today because of a technical issue here at the station. So there is no video component of the show temporarily. This will be fixed, I'm sure, at some point over the course of the week. And before we get into some stuff, I also want to remind you that we are proudly sponsored by the Hop Knot in the Brady Sullivan Plaza at 1000 Elm Street, right across the street. Right across the street. Which means nothing to you. It just means something to me because I'm sitting here. I can see it from here. But don't go there today because they are closed. Monday and Tuesday is their weekend. They're open Wednesday through Sunday. But they have delicious gourmet pretzels. They have craft beer. They have wine. They have trivia night every Thursday night, which is very, very popular. And something that's extremely important, too, to us around here and why we're so honored and proud to have them as a sponsor is they do everything very safely there. The staff is masked at all times, even out back in the kitchen when they're cooking. They're always wearing masks, and the tables are nice and spread out, and they clean, they sanitize, all of that quite diligently, disinfect. They take COVID very seriously there, so that's important. It's great food, great service, great family that owns and operates it, and very safe. It's a safe place to go. Oh, and they have these really cool face masks. They're only $10. You can get a really nice looking Hop Knot face mask, and if you order out for takeout, takeout when you go to pick it up, if you're wearing your Hop Knot face mask when you walk into the building, and you do have to be wearing a mask to walk into the building, but if you wear your Hop Knot face mask when you walk into the building, you get 10% off your order. So it's a pretty good deal. So it's like the face mask. It's like, as I like to say, it's like a frequent shopper card that you wear on your face instead of putting it in your wallet. I mean, you probably could put it in your wallet, but you'd have to fold it up pretty tight to fit it in there, I would imagine, because it's a face mask, you see. So, anywho, let me give the number one more time, and then we'll get into some stuff. 603-250-6007. By the way, our friend Eazy-G Eric Gagnon sent a message that I didn't even, what's his new relay total. $1,452. That is how much our entertainment reporter, Eazy-G Eric Gagnon, has raised for the Relay for Life. And if you'd like to donate to the Relay for Life to fight cancer through Eric, he is Eric Gagnon on the Facebook. So he's very easy to find. And, of course, we know him and love him as Eazy-G. By the way, I still can't get over that entertainment report that he did the other day. He spent the entire time talking about beef, all the people he's beefing with. It was crazy. Anyway, maybe we'll hear from him today. The other thing I wanted to mention, so my father is now, this is, I guess this will be a big deal only to me, but my father has done something. See, years ago, I thought my father would never get a cell phone, and I kept telling him, it's like, Dad, you've got to get a cell phone. What if you have an emergency? And, you know, you'll be able to disconnect the landline. You probably don't use it much anyway. What's the point? Get rid of the landline, get a cell phone, or keep the landline, but you have to have a cell phone. What if something happens and you don't have a phone? So he finally got a cell phone. And now, then he started using voice to text and everything. Never thought I'd see it. Well, now my father has done something else I never thought he would do, or at least he always said he would never do. I guess deep down, I always knew he might do it. My father is on the Facebook, Martin Connarton. So if you'd like to friend my father, you can. But here's the weird thing, and obviously this was purely a mistake on his part, but for some reason the N, and I'm embarrassed to say I can't remember what it's called. It's got that little squiggly line over the N, which is weird, right? I don't know. But anyway, so he shared this with me a few hours ago on the Facebook, and he might be listening. He shared it to my personal page. Here, actually, I'll share it to the Matt Connarton Unleashed page so everyone can see it. And I always worry, you know, my dad, like I want my dad to listen to the show, and he always tells me he's proud of me and everything that I'm doing and whatnot. But my dad, you know, he's MAGA. So I'm surprised he can listen without being offended, because I don't know if you all have noticed, but I'm not a big fan of President Trump. I don't know, former President Trump. I don't know if you've all ever picked up on that, but I find him evil, but my dad's a big fan of him. So anyway, but my dad wrote this, and this was very nice. He says, great show, Matt, on February 26, 2021 with Jenny. I love the way you guys are examining the problematic situation in this country with regard to mental health services, as well as drug and alcohol counseling services programs and needs. We really are falling quite short currently. I think we are doing better than 20 years ago. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I misread that. I think we were doing better 20 years ago than we are doing now in the present realities of the day. Part of this is, of course, it's related to COVID-19, but much of it's related to poor understanding, ignorance, and people in power, the ruling class, making sure the money and resources come primarily to them, and to heck with us. It is sad. It needs to change. Goodbye, guys. Peace and love. Out for now, Dad. So I thought that was very nice. Very nice. So thank you, Dad, if you're listening to today's program. I don't know if he gets a chance to listen live or not, but of course, you know, it does go up on all the major podcasting platforms afterward. I need to remember to push that more. And of course, all the shows are archived at WMNHradio.org almost immediately after we get off the air. almost immediately. Also, too, I want to remind you all that it has gone up. The episode of What's the Difference from the US-UK network. Jenny and I recorded a podcast. They don't do it live. They record it and then they put it up of this show with our friend Alex Whiteley from the UK, who calls in fact, or Skypes in. In fact, he Skyped in the other day. He Skyped in last week. We got to do that more often with Alex. That was a lot of fun. Really loved talking with him. So Jenny and I were on What's the Difference with Alex Whiteley and Tom Bruno. Tom is actually right next door in Vermont, so he's not quite as far away as Alex Whiteley is. But we had a lot of fun with that, and I did share the links out for that on both my personal page and the Matt Connarton Unleashed page. And I think we talked for about an hour, maybe a little more. And it was, all about politics and current events and all that great stuff. So please check that out if you would like. Let's see. Let's get into some stuff. No, we'll save that. Let me just say, there's a few different directions we can go in. We should talk about CPAC, but now we'll save that for a minute. Let me just say this. I wanted to just mention Governor Governor Andrew Cuomo. I almost said Governor Mario Cuomo. Mario Cuomo was governor of New York when I was a kid, and I used to notice when I was a kid. I grew up here, but I would spend, some of you have heard me talk about this, I would spend the summers out in Chicago with my mother. My parents split up when I was a wee lad, a young urchin. And at the beginning of every summer, my dad would take me to the airport, put me on a plane, and I'd spend the summers out in Chicago with my mom when she moved back there. But we also, when I was growing up, every couple of months, we would go to New York State for the weekend. Not in the summer, obviously, because I wasn't around in the summer, but the rest of the year, we would go because my dad's wife, his second wife, Debbie, lived in, she had family in New York State. So we would go out to New York. And I just always remember we would take Route 9 to cross from New Hampshire into Vermont. And I would from Vermont into New York, and it would change to Route 7. And I would always see that sign, "Welcome to New York, Mario Cuomo, governor." But Andrew Cuomo, boy, have his fortunes reversed politically. But we'll come back to that. We have a call. Oh, and the caller is gone. Perhaps that was Governor Andrew Cuomo trying to call in, and then he heard me slip and refer to him as Mario Cuomo. By the way, Mario Cuomo probably father of not only Andrew Cuomo, Governor Andrew Cuomo, but Chris Cuomo on CNN. Mario Cuomo probably could have been president in 1992 if he wanted to, because I remember, and 92 was important to me because it was the first election I was old enough to vote in. But there was a lot of pressure on Mario Cuomo to run for the Democratic nomination, but he didn't want to. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hey, it's Eazy-G. I appreciate the shout-out earlier. That was very nice.
Well, that was very nice of you to continue to do all this great work, raising all this money for the Relay for Life,
I know,
my
it's
friend.
crazy. I got a question for you, though,
yes.
Matt. I thought your father was on Facebook a while back when I thought it was your birthday, and I came in with some a cookie or something for you, and you said, "Oh, man, it's not my birthday. It's my father's birthday."
Nope. That is my uncle you're thinking of. That happens, and it's
okay,
and it's not
the same name.
It's not just you who makes that mistake, Eazy-G. Every year, so my uncle is also Matt, and every year, not only you, but there's usually a few people on the Facebook who they wish my uncle a happy birthday, thinking that it's me. My father's name is Martin. Feel free to friend him on the Facebook if you'd like, but my uncle's name is Matt.
All right.
Matthew. Yes. So
I know it's crazy. If I raise another, and I got another friend of mine's sending me a check, so I don't know what that's going to be for the donation. So it's crazy. I'm $48 away from $1,500. It's unbelievable.
That is fantastic. When is there a cutoff for this, for the Relay for Life?
Well, I'm going to raise money probably till around till June 1st because the relay's the 5th. So
okay. Wow.
Pretty much keep raising money, but I'm not the top. I'm not the top. We're not. My team's not the top team, believe it or not. But I'm getting pretty close to the top team because they have it listed on the Facebook Relay for Life Comcast Relay for Life page on the email I get, and the top team is another team, and they have a couple of great fundraising. They're all the same family, and they raised $1,600 and $50. $1,650. I'm creeping up to there. I'm still way ahead of the. I'm still the top fundraiser of the Manchester Concord region. I think the person under me is like 820 or something. So I'm way ahead of them.
But what happens if you overtake this other team you're talking about? Let's say something were to happen to this other team. Just hypothetically, what would that? Would you would then be the top?
Well, it'd be fun to be the top fundraiser and the top team. Yeah.
In what? In the country?
It doesn't really matter, though. It matters is the raising money to.
What matters
cancer,
is well, that matters too. But what matters the most is winning. You must win.
No, we're not doing it for winning. We're doing it to beat cancer. If it happens.
Well, yes,
right. To get a couple prizes on the way up there, so be it. But I don't raise money just for the consolation prizes. But it's always nice to be recognized.
Haven't you heard Paul Stanley's hit song, "Live to Win"? Live to win till you die.
I'm not really a big
till the fire leaves your eyes. Live to win.
I get another question.
Yes.
I saw one of your posts and I thought Jenny was going to be there today.
Why did you think that?
I think I saw it on the Facebook. Somebody's promoting your page and it says Matt and Jenny. Well, they didn't really have a date on it, I guess.
Oh, well, you might have seen my father's comment where he addressed my father's comment to me.
It was somebody from overseas promoting the show.
Oh, you're talking about Jenny and I. We were on the What's the Difference podcast with our friend Alex.
Oh, okay.
Alex
you
Whiteley.
Really have a date on it, I guess.
Yeah, Alex Whiteley from the UK. That went up over the
usually
weekend.
Jenny's on Mondays, but I guess you gave her the day off.
Yeah, she's at home painting. Hopefully she'll be here with me tomorrow.
All right.
No, all right, yeah. But is everything all right with you, Eric? Is there any more beefing going on? The other day when you called, it was all about the beef.
Yeah, it was funny today because the Peter White was apologizing to me today. Said it was a little rough on Easy last week.
Oh, he was apologizing about the
that was nice.
Hot beef injection. Well, that's
very
nice. Did he really?
I heard him, so thank you, Peter White.
Now, how would you, though, I do have to ask, I'll have to go back and listen to this, Eric. How would you, on a scale of 1 to 5, what would you rate his level of sincerity?
Say that again?
His level of sincerity. Do you think he was being sincere?
Yeah, it looks like he actually meant it, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
He said, have a great week.
Well, yeah, have a great week. Wow.
It was funny. I was the only one that called the morning show. I called up and I called up in the morning. In the morning, and then I called up a little while later when I found out it was Stephen Light's birthday today. So if he's listening this afternoon, happy birthday again.
Happy birthday, Stephen Light. Yes. I've met...
you just met him the other day when the Bertha Spencer radio show was on.
He was on with us a couple of weeks in a row, actually, on the Retro Spectrum Radio.
I heard Paulie C says when things clear up, he's going to be an additional member to the team.
Yes, and we're going to be opening a roller rink here in the studio.
Oh, wow.
I made that up.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm. We wouldn't have the space here. I'm kidding. I was just kidding about that, Eric. That was a joke.
All right.
No roller rink. Unless you think it's a good idea. Do you think it's a good idea?
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not. Yeah, probably not. I don't think it would work. I don't think we're zoned for that, if you know what I mean. So no more beefing? Because last week, man, you were beefing with everybody.
Yeah, I'm not beefing with anybody.
Oh, good.
I'm too tired to beef with anybody.
That's a big relief. What about this team, though, that's ahead of you with raising money for the relay? Are you beefing with them?
Say that again?
The team that's ahead of you for the relay, are you beefing with them?
Oh, no, not beefing with anybody.
Okay. No beef, huh? No beef.
All righty, so I thought I'd give you a call and say, yeah. So
Well,
that's all I wanted to discuss. So we'll talk to you later.
Well, Wang, will you be doing an entertainment report this week? Well, he hung up. I'll tell you what. Now, I have to, hopefully he's still listening and he hears this. I want to take a moment and give my sincere praise and compliments to Eazy-G because he listened. And by the way, I'm not even kidding when I say this. I'm quite serious. He listened very well during that call. Did you notice that? He didn't talk over me. I started to say something. He listened. We had a give and take, a back and forth conversation. Probably his best ever. That was phenomenal. So well done, Eazy-G. I don't know how you did it, but well done. Jenny is on the mattconnarton.com. She says, shalom in all caps. You can comment there too, by the way, since we have no Facebook live chat room at the moment. But you can also comment directly to the Matt Connarton Unleashed page as well. But Andrew Cuomo, Governor Andrew Cuomo of New York, the guy won an Emmy Award, right? When he was giving his daily briefings. I don't remember what the category was. It might have been something they invented. I remember when I first heard about it, I thought it was a joke. I was like, really? They gave him an Emmy for that? It turned out they actually did. But people are kind of using him as a counterpoint to Trump in the sense that Cuomo seemed much more engaged and involved and, compared to President Trump with the coronavirus task force, Cuomo just seemed much more on top of things, more knowledgeable, more, a little less sugarcoating and a little more hard facts and kind of, this is what we need to do and this and that. And people seem to like his style. A lot of people liked his style much more than Trump's and had more confidence in him. I certainly did, and that still holds true now. But the dude's in a lot of trouble. And it's not just Republicans either who are taking him to task. Democrats in his home state as well. There's actually pressure. What a difference a year makes. There's actually now pressure on Governor Andrew Cuomo of New York to resign. Things have completely flipped, and it's a combination of really two things that have happened. One is there seems to have been a cooking of the books, if you will, in terms of the reporting of nursing home deaths in the state of New York. But also, there's sexual harassment allegations now that are happening. And again, it's not just Republicans, it's Democrats, too, who are starting to rapidly sour on Governor Andrew Cuomo. Now, let me just say, and I'm not trying to make this an I told you so kind of thing, but I've had some ethical questions about the governor for a long time now. A number of years ago, some of you might remember this, there was a commission established by Governor, I think it was either by Governor Cuomo or by the legislature, assemblymen, whatever they call them in the state of New York, to investigate some corruption in government. And Cuomo, actually, I should see if I could find the actual story. Governor Cuomo was all for it. Got to root out that corruption, right? Until the investigation got a little too close to his administration. Let me see if I can find this really quickly because, the Moreland Commission, that's what it was. This is from Wiki. The Commission to Investigate Police Corruption was a public entity created by New York Governor Andrew Cuomo in July of 2013 under the state's Moreland Act, with the aim of investigating politicians and political organizations in New York for violations of state laws regulating elections, campaigns, and political fundraising. Cuomo abandoned the commission. Remember, it came from him, right? Cuomo disbanded the commission after approving modest ethics reform in March 2014, whereupon U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara announced that he would continue investigating the commission's targets and the governor's office itself. So that was, people were crying foul over that. It's like, wait a minute, he's disbanding the commission. Evidently because it was getting a little too close to his own administration and what they were investigating. And you might recall Cynthia Nixon. Remember Cynthia Nixon from Sex and the City? Which, by the way, I never watched the show, but that was the name of the show. Everyone says Sex in the City. It was Sex and the City. I was never even a fan of the show, never watched a single episode in my life, and yet somehow I managed to say the name correctly. I only know this because when I worked at, I worked in a retail chain at the time. I was a store manager for a certain national, I can say it. It doesn't matter. It was FYE. And we sold the Sex and the City box sets of the different seasons. And people would come in all the time and say, do you have Sex in the City? And it's like people who are allegedly pretty serious fans of the show, so much so they're coming in to buy this box set. They don't even know the right name of the show. Anyway, Cynthia Nixon she challenged Andrew Cuomo for the Democratic nomination a couple of years ago in the state of New York. And I remember seeing one of their debates and I watched it. I watched the whole thing. It was fascinating to watch. And she was just told him right to his face, you're corrupt. You're a corrupt politician. You're a crook. And, he just kind of, who was it who said, was it on Weekend Update on Saturday Night Live? They referred to Andrew Cuomo as, the cast of Goodfellas all merged into one. I'm not suggesting anything, by the way. But everyone's turning against him now. See, when your own party turns against you, that's when you know you're in trouble. See, that doesn't happen on the Republican side nearly as much because the head of the Republican Party is still, as we learned from CPAC this weekend, and we'll talk about that later, is still very much Donald John Trump. And, obviously, as evidenced by the big golden statue of him, the golden calf, except it's not a calf, it's Trump. But, in the Republican Party, if you go against Trump, you get called names and, used to be called terrible things on Twitter. That's not an option anymore. But on the Democratic side, at least in New York, I'll tell you what, this guy is drowning. I mean, there are Democrats, not just Republicans, Democrats calling for his resignation. And I will say, too, CNN has not shied away from covering Governor Andrew Cuomo and what's going on with him in the state of New York. And I bring that up only because, and it's not because some people might think, oh, CNN, they're just, they're going to cover for Democrats and only attack Republicans, which is, I think, demonstrably not true and not fair. I mean, I have some criticisms of CNN, but no, I think they're pretty good about covering both. And I think that, the Biden administration, for example, is getting some criticism in the media for their handling of Khashoggi and their reluctance to directly punish or sanction MBS. Maybe we'll talk about that later in the show. But CNN has been covering this story pretty aggressively. You're not going to see the story covered. Somebody was criticizing CNN because Chris Cuomo on his show at night has not been covering the story, at least not that I've seen. But come on, it's his brother. You don't want Chris Cuomo covering that story because there's no way Chris Cuomo can be objective about it. And that's not even a criticism of Chris Cuomo. That's, you can't, I mean, that would be like, would you expect me to come on my own show and criticize a member of my family? So that's an awkward position to be in, although they are only half brothers. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hey, it's Eazy-G again. Hey, I wanted to get your opinion. I forget the guy's name. I'm going to write it down next Sunday. But he's on every Sunday night.
Please, write it down.
From 10 to 1 on another station, GIR there. And of course, he's a big MAGA guy. He loves the Trumpster and Rush Limbaugh and all those folks. Yeah. And he was saying that he was ripping Biden last night. He said that guy Biden, he can't give press conferences. They don't want him to say anything. He doesn't. He goes to bed at 8:00. He doesn't. He didn't give this the unofficial State of the Union. You know what's up with him. Well,
that's.
What do you think of all that?
Well, now, so are you avoiding the name, or do you just not remember the name of the guy I don't
remember the guy's name. I don't know if you do.
Jack Heath isn't there anymore, right?
No, this is late night. This is like 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. He's only on Sunday nights.
Oh, okay.
He's been on forever.
Oh. Well, actually, Eric, now my answer to this might surprise you. He isn't necessarily completely off base. Whoa, what the hell? Why did my, that was weird. Are you still there, Eric?
Yeah.
Okay. Check, 1, 2, check. This mic sounds a little funny.
Next Sunday, I'll write his name down. I can't remember the guy's name.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What the hell? Why does it sound like that? This mic sounds funny to me. Anyway, okay. This might surprise you a little bit to hear me say this. I am not necessarily completely in disagreement with what this guy's saying. He might be on to something a little bit, and here's what I mean. I do think there is probably somewhat of an effort to. A part of it might just be a difference in style, but I think there also might be an idea that they want to kind of isolate Biden a little bit, because historically, if you look over Biden's political career, he has been known to make a gaffe now and then, and I think they want to keep him very much on message and very disciplined as far as that goes. So it may be somewhat intentional. He's not necessarily completely off base. For example, Trump used to do a lot of what they called chopper talk, which past presidents have done too, where they're getting ready to get on the helicopter, but they'll stop and talk to the media. And Biden doesn't do that. Of course, Biden can't project the same way that Trump did as far as his voice. Biden speaks in a much quieter tone, so that might not work for him anyway. But yeah, I don't know why this mic sounds like that. Are you still there, Eric?
Oh yeah, I'm just listening.
Okay, yeah, I'm
trying to listen more.
Check, 1, 2. No, you're doing. Okay, it seems better now. So I'm just distracted by this. The mic sounded funny to me.
Yeah, but I think the media was just blown away because the other guy was, always on Twitter and Facebook and whatever else he could get a hold of, and always complaining and fake news. And this other guy comes to town, Biden, and he doesn't give a lot of press conferences. He's kind of just laying low. And I think of course, this guy here, I can't think of his name right now, but he's a big Trumpster guy, MAGA guy. And I guess he's just used to the in-your-face politics. He doesn't understand.
Oh, yeah.
This guy here.
No, totally. I mean,
guy.
Biden is much more disciplined, much more on message, but he's also a professional politician. But I mean, to be kind of off the cuff and wild in some ways, I mean, that was Trump's style. That's not Biden's style.
Of course.
So I think Biden is really playing to his strengths, and I think a lot of people prefer, or at least can appreciate, that sort of steady, a much more steady hand.
Yeah, I think that guy in New York got an Emmy for like the best TV production or something. Was really lame.
Yeah, I don't know if they invented. I'll have to look it up what it was. I don't know if they invented an Emmy specifically for that, but people were very enthusiastic about it.
Hot water, with the nursing home thing and sexual harassment.
He's in a lot of trouble, and
his days could be over. Yeah,
and he did release a statement, kind of an apology, but it was one of those. I'm sorry if anything I did bothered you kind of apologies. It wasn't so much taking responsibility.
The Me Too movement there. Yeah.
Me Too, and Me Too, and speaking out. Yeah, he might be. I mean, I don't know. It's a little, and he's up for re-election next year, if I'm not mistaken. So,
oh boy,
yeah, he might, because he wants to run for. It'll be his fourth term as governor that he'll be running for. But I remember back a year ago, people were so impressed and so cowed by him and his. The way he comports himself during these press briefings about COVID, people were saying maybe he should be the nominee instead of Biden, but no.
Yeah, that didn't work out, did it?
But now it looks like he's, the walls are closing in on him. It's very different now. Very different.
Yeah.
What would you do? What would you do, Eazy-G? I mean, you helped Amanda McCarthy establish her career. What advice would you have for Governor Cuomo to save his?
I have no idea. I have no advice for him. Oh, maybe you could just resign.
There you go.
Go away.
Somehow I don't think that's on the menu, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, it might happen, though. You never know.
You never know if it gets bad enough. He's the kind of guy who digs in, though. He digs in. That's something he does have in common.
You never know how bad it could get, though.
With Trump. Yeah. Well, we'll see. All right.
All righty. We'll talk to you later.
All right, Eric. Thanks for the call. Bye-bye. Eazy-G with another great call. He really is, to his credit. Eric is doing very well with the listening more, talking less. That was excellent. He's really, he's come a long way. They grow up so fast, don't they? So, just quickly, and then we'll move on. There was something. Now I lost it. Where did it go? There was something about. I'm sorry. I'm running on very little sleep. I don't know if y'all can tell. There was something about the Biden administration or the Justice Department wants to investigate Cuomo. Yeah, it's just going to get worse for Governor Andrew Cuomo. Oh, and de Blasio, by the way, who no love lost there, and they're both Democrats, but Mayor Bill de Blasio of New York City, they've had some public disagreements, and maybe Mayor de Blasio would like to be governor. Says here, according to thehill.com, de Blasio says Cuomo should resign if allegations are corroborated. Here, let's look at this quickly, and then we'll move on. It's already almost 5 o'clock. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio on Monday said New York Governor Andrew Cuomo should step down if the sexual harassment allegations against him by 2 former aides are corroborated. The mayor said at a press briefing, quote, "If someone purposely tried to use their power to force a woman to have sex with them, of course, that's someone who should no longer be in public service." He also took a swipe at Cuomo's Sunday night statement acknowledging insensitive behavior but denying inappropriately touching any staff member. De Blasio, well, he really goes in on him here. This was, according to New York Magazine, de Blasio said this, quote, "That's not an apology. He seemed to be saying, oh, I was just kidding around. Sexual harassment's not funny. It's serious, and it has to be taken seriously, and he just clearly was letting himself off the hook for something that, for the women involved, sounded pretty terrifying," unquote. So Cuomo, in a statement Sunday evening, said this, quote, "I now understand that my interactions may have been insensitive or too personal, and that some of my comments, given my position, made others feel in ways I never intended. I acknowledge some of the things I have said may have been misinterpreted as an unwanted flirtation. To the extent anyone felt that way, I am truly sorry about that. To be clear, I never inappropriately touched anybody, and I never propositioned anybody, and I never intended to make anyone feel uncomfortable, but these are allegations that New Yorkers deserve answers for," unquote. 2 former aides to Cuomo have come forward with allegations of sexual harassment. Charlotte Bennett and Lindsey Boylan have both accused Cuomo of unwanted advances and of making inappropriate remarks while in the workplace. Boylan also said that Cuomo kissed her without her consent. De Blasio called Sunday for Cuomo to face an independent investigation not headed by one of his appointees. The mayor also called. Wouldn't that be interesting if Cuomo decides to allow for that, and then he just disbands it, like he did the Moreland Commission? Yeah, I'll do that, and then they start getting too close to the truth. Oh, never mind. That's my Andrew Cuomo impression. No, I'll do that. No, never mind. It's terrible. I look. By the way, if you're new to the show, something you should know about me: I'm terrible at impressions, and every time I make any sort of attempt at one, it's a completely absurd exercise on my part, and there's no reason for me to be doing it. And look, I'll admit I should be publicly shunned for doing so. Feel free to publicly shun me and shame me. Kind of the same thing, but. The mayor also called. Now, this is interesting, and this relates to the other thing, right? Because before these sexual harassment allegations started coming out, we were hearing about the not incongruity, but the discrepancy in terms of the reporting of nursing home deaths in the state of New York. The mayor also called for the governor's emergency authority to be stripped over a separate scandal involving accusations that the state hid or underreported data related to the deaths in nursing homes related to COVID-19. And that's a pretty stunning thing because, again, this is Democrats saying that Cuomo needs to be stripped of his authority, effectively his authority to deal with this pandemic in New York. They want to take that responsibility away from him because they don't even trust him with it. And again, it's Democrats. I mean, you're in trouble when your own party, and I mean when a lot of people in your own party, not, like Trump, he gets people here and there who want to say vote for his impeachment or vote for conviction, right? And then they end up considered to be on the fringe of their party, right? Like, Liz Cheney is now considered to be on the fringe of the Republican Party because she dared to stand up to Trump and say, yeah, this is his fault, right? But with the Democrats, when you've got a Democratic mayor of the state of New York and a Democratic governor of the state of New York, and the Democratic mayor is saying we want to take power away from our Democratic governor, you've probably made some sort of mistake somewhere along the line, either in your terms of your own malfeasance or just in how you've related to others in your party, because apparently there's people in your own party who hate you. So, again, getting back to this. So the mayor also called for the governor's emergency authority to be stripped over a separate scandal involving accusations that the state had underreported data related to deaths in nursing homes related to COVID-19. Assemblyman Ron Kim, a Democrat who in recent days has claimed, this is another part of the story, who in recent days has claimed that Cuomo's office threatened to, quote, destroy him, added that the governor should resign immediately. The governor granted authority to the state's attorney general, Letitia James, a Democrat, on Monday to conduct an investigation into the allegations of sexual harassment Cuomo faces from the two women. James said in a statement Monday afternoon that the results of that investigation would be released in a public report. So there you go. Andrew Cuomo in a lot of serious trouble in the state of New York. Well, we are already at almost the top of the hour, so let's take a break. And I'm in the mood to hear a little Alice Cooper. Let's take a quick break, and we will be back. More Matt Connarton Unleashed coming up. We are live from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM in Manchester, New Hampshire. Don't go away.
But everybody knows who this guy is. Come on, man.
Welcome back, everybody. We are into hour number 2, numero dos, of Matt Connarton Unleashed, and we are live from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM in glorious downtown Manchester, New Hampshire, where it is after 5 p.m. and still light out. Spring is here. March 1st is the first day of spring. Fight me if you don't believe it. It's March 1st. Don't pay any attention to what the calendar tells you. I'm telling you March 1st. We're, of course, also streaming at WMNHradio.org. And you can stream us at mattconnerton.com and IPM Nation and Raw Talk Online. And, of course, this show is available on all the major podcasting networks. But for the moment, we are not on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page, nor are we on Comcast 97 here in Manchester. That is a temporary situation. It is being worked on, but there's a bit of a technical issue, or issue, as I often hear them pronounce it, on the BBC. So we're currently not able to do that, but we're able to stream the audio. So whether you're listening on the FM dial here in Manchester or streaming us from anywhere in the world, it is wonderful to have you here. And you can call us at 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. You can also send a text message if you'd prefer. I know how you youngins are with this newfangled texting. 617-917-4476. You can tweet me at Matt Connarton or email me, matt@mattconnerton.com. You can also comment on the mattconnerton.com website. If you click listen live there, you've got all the contact info for the show, all the social media links, links to the archive, everywhere where you can access the show. And if you scroll to the bottom of the page at mattconnerton.com/Matt Connarton Unleashed, there's even a place where you can comment. So we have other options, alternative options, not alternative facts, mind you, but alternative options for how you can interact with the program. Let's see. Oh, and I want to remind you, of course, we are proudly sponsored by the Hop Knot in the Brady Sullivan Plaza at 1000 Elm Street. Don't go there today. Monday and Tuesday is their weekend, but you should go there Wednesday through Sunday. It's a wonderful place. They have delicious gourmet pretzels. They have craft beer. They have wine. They have trivia night every Thursday night. It's a wonderful place. Lots of great food, great service, and a great family that owns and operates it. And you can get your Hop Knot face mask there for only $10, and they look very nice, very stylish. Let's see. Let me give the number one more time, and then we have some other things to get into. 603-250-6007. Oh, I found that other story I was looking for. White House offers support for New York Attorney General probe of Cuomo sexual harassment claims. Yeah, so even the Biden White House is against him. We won't go back to that. I want to get to some other things, but we do have a call. Let's take this. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's on the line?
Hey, Matt, it's Mike Doyle.
Hey, Mike Doyle. How are you?
Happy March to you, my friend.
Thank you. March 1st. Happy spring.
We're trudging our way towards summer here.
Now we're more than trudging. I think that we're careening towards summer.
Yeah, that's the right word.
Yes, we're careening toward it.
I turned you on about 10 minutes before your break, and you never cease to amaze me. I thought I heard you say that CNN is aggressively covering the Cuomo story.
I didn't say
that has been the.
I don't think I said aggressively, but they are covering it. CNN is covering it. They're not covering it during Chris Cuomo's show because that would be awkward. But some of their other programs have been covering it.
Yeah, I don't think you're correct there because that's been out pretty widely mentioned in different circles, different channels of how CNN is kind of quiet on the whole thing. I think you spend more time on it than they have, them and MSNBC. But
yeah, I don't know. I've definitely I've definitely been seeing it in mainstream media. Let me put it that way. It's not like no one's. Yeah. I don't think anyone's covering for, again, except maybe his brother. I don't think anyone's really covering for Andrew Cuomo. I'm looking at these different websites like Reuters and Raw Story, and everybody's talking about it. So it's not like it's getting buried. But
just the major ones, CNN and MSNBC. But anyways, hey, I wanted to talk about Biden real quick.
Yeah.
I sent you an email. You can talk about that some other day, maybe. But that program, the Talent program that he shut down last week, quietly under the radar. But I wanted to get your take on how the school thing is so important right now, and I think that's why you're not hearing from Biden, because he's basically hiding under the bed. He's caught between the unions who back him and science. And remember pre-election, follow the science.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That was his mantra to knock down Trump. Follow the science. I'm going to do whatever science says.
Right.
Well, his CDC director is saying kids should be back in school.
Right.
And he doesn't want to pee off the unions.
Yeah.
So he's not making a stand on it. He's mums on it, and that's kind of odd, because we got to get these kids back in school somehow. You know what I mean?
Well, I think there's a lot of what seems to be. This is my read on it, and I haven't paid much attention to what Biden has specifically said or not said about it. But you're right. I mean, Biden is a Democrat, and Democrats, they want to be friends with the unions, particularly the teachers' unions. So that might be why he's not leaning forward on it. It's tricky because from what I understand, Mike, it seems to depend on where you are, in that some places have managed to do, and I think somebody in the chat room had recently commented, it might have been Abigail Jem or Miriam Banish, somebody who's involved in education, that in places where they're following the protocols, schools have actually done much better than expected, because for a long time there was this idea, and I'll be the first to say I was guilty of it. I assumed that schools would be incredibly dangerous places because kids are not going to follow the protocols. They're not going to have the discipline to do it. Younger kids, because it's just harder for them to follow directions, and kids in high school because they're just not going to care. It's not going to be cool to follow the rules. You know what I mean? And I have been pleasantly surprised that apparently in a lot of places, and I guess to a large extent here in New Hampshire, kids have been really good and they have been following the protocols. And it would appear that, again, not everywhere, because there's some places where schools have done poorly, but in places where everyone's following the protocols and doing what they're supposed to be doing, it may actually be that it's safer to have kids in school than out in the community all day. So it does appear that, again, everybody's got to be following the rules, but as long as that's being done, having kids in school may in fact be the best option. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of the, and I'm not saying all, but a lot of the charter schools and private Catholic schools that have kids back and have had them back for a while are doing fine. And of course they have cases, right? And they isolate the one or two cases they have, and then they just go on with education. But it's so important, especially this day and age, for these kids to be back in school. Especially center city schools, things like that where the kids are multi-language and they have tough learning as it is, right? And the teachers have a tough sledding it as it is.
Yeah.
The one thing I was hoping to get your opinion on is, this is the one thing that absolutely blows my mind. Why aren't teachers the number one people in line? Well, elderly first, but then probably and frontline workers probably second.
Yeah.
But third, why wouldn't teachers be third in line for vaccination?
It's
just numbers wise, when you're bringing 25 kids towards you, right? Yeah. And you're standing there alone, and these 25 kids are sniffling, and they've been running around. They're home. They've been with friends all weekend. They're coming towards you. So why wouldn't we vaccinate the teachers first? I never got that. I don't understand that whole theory. But
yeah, do you mean in New Hampshire or just broadly, just nationally?
Broadly,
yeah.
Teachers are not. They're not, like, to me, teachers almost should be put on a pedestal of, they're teaching our future. They're the ones that the kids are going to grow up and learn right from wrong, and yes and no, and 2 + 2, and whatever it is they learn that you get out of school when you get out. You don't grab everything But there's a lot of things you grab during your years in schools that you use in your future life, like mathematics and, English and different things like that. And I just don't understand why there's this whole thing about, I just think teachers, that would kind of solve a little bit of that problem of going back if the teachers, which I think is their number one worry, some of the older teachers might get infected. And then that wouldn't be that good, because I think the numbers show that young kids, are very, very, very low in infections.
Right.
So I don't know. It just seems like let's get a push you don't have to be Republican or Democrat, right? It's about our future and our kids.
Yeah.
And, we should just all do the right thing by somehow getting them back into school. I know this virtual school is not working. It just doesn't work. Kids have no attention span at home. You know what I mean? They need to know that recess is coming and they can go play kickball.
Yeah.
Unwind a little bit, then get back in the classroom. You know what I mean? Just the basics, like we had growing up.
Well, not only that too, but some of these teachers, I'm sure some of the teachers, particularly, not to be ageist, but if you've got an older teacher who isn't really into technology to begin with, and now they have to figure out how to run this class from a computer, and I'm sure it's tough on a lot of these teachers too. It's probably harder on them than it is on the kids, just because. I mean, I'm sure some teachers it's very easy, and they probably actually enjoy it this way. But I'm sure for a lot of teachers, it is just got to be drudgery. Especially especially an older teacher who's maybe not really into technology and who's been a teacher for decades already and is so used to being in a classroom. It's got to be brutal.
Yeah. And with a city like Manchester, which we're very diverse, we take in a lot of people from different countries, things like that. Now you're dealing with over a computer, trying to deal with, a Zoom call with 20 kids, but some don't speak English. Some need paras, some need English as a second language. Or as a first language, there's so many different multiples of children's needs that, having a one-on-one in school where you have the teacher teaching the bulk of the class, then you also have a para in the class working with the three kids that are very disruptive or just having troubles, coping, and then another child in the class that may not have a good grasp of the language. All of those things combined, we're setting these kids back by, I don't know how long they're going to wait, but I just noticed that Biden needs to make a call here because the unions are saying don't let them back in school, and his CDC director said kids should be back at school. So it's kind of a weird dichotomy there that he's caught between, and doesn't seem like he wants to come up with an answer yet. So,
well, I think they're also kind of leaving it. Aren't they just kind of leaving it up to the states? Each state to kind of do what they want, because I don't think there's no mandate federally about it. So
right, but remember we went through that with Trump, where the states all said leave it up to us, so he did, and then down the stretch they all jumped on Trump about not having a good plan and not having a plan forward for the kids. And I don't know, they're jumping all over the place. But the bottom line is left, right, center, these kids should be back in school. That's just my opinion. They're falling behind, and they were falling behind to begin with, so now it's even worse. Yeah,
you're right, because the long-term repercussions of this, it's a lost year plus educationally for these kids. Some of them might just, I don't know, they might have to take an extra year of high school or something. I don't know how it's going to work, but yeah, there's going to be long-term repercussions for this terrible thing. I've always said, though, and I'm sure you've heard me say it, Mike, about COVID, this whole pandemic. It's like we're in this terrible situation where there are no good options. And all we can do with every element, every aspect of this is try to figure out what is the least horrible option for everything, because there's no good ones. There's no positive options. All we can do is figure out what is the least awful and just go with the least awful thing we can do to muddle through this. There's light at the end of the tunnel, though, hopefully.
Oh, yeah, there always is.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll bounce back. We're America. We'll make it happen somehow. We're all, although we have our differences, we're all in the same pot together. And
yep.
So that's the bottom line. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
Anyways, hey, good show. I just thought I'd heard you. I just wanted you to know that some of these stations were saying that they were kind of getting on CNN and MSNBC about avoiding it a little bit and not bringing it to the forefront. And I guess yesterday, now that it's become kind of a national story, I guess they're almost like forced to,
Oh yeah, there's no avoiding it. He's in real trouble. I mean,
he's in trouble.
I'm not quite predicting his undoing politically, but it may be the end of the line for Andrew Cuomo. What a difference a year makes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, let me tell you the kiss of death when AOC is on him.
Yes, I saw that.
You know what I mean?
I saw. Although, Mike, I have to tell you, I did see that, but I could have sworn I saw that on CNN.
Oh, I don't think so. Maybe.
It might have been. It might have been.
But yeah, when people like AOC, who's a staunch Democrat, true.
Oh yeah.
Start saying, hey, let's have an investigation. Let's not be crazy. Let's open this up.
Yeah.
And I got to assume if there's two girls, there's probably more. We're talking about years of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just an assumption, but.
Yeah.
It's not like he just all of a sudden just started doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that tends to be that tends to be how this goes. People come out, and then more people feel like it's safe to come out, and then next thing you know, there's an avalanche of accusations.
Yeah. And as far as the nursing home thing goes, I don't know if people can get a real feel on that unless that was your grandparents in there that for no reason, you know what I mean, and for him to come out and blame the nurses. Did you see that?
I did.
He gave a speech, and he said the reason COVID got into the nursing homes was because the nurses were bringing it in.
I did see that.
Yeah, and that's, what are you doing? You're blaming the front line.
Not a good...
people who are going towards the COVID every day to help people, and you're going to blame them.
Not a good moment for him. No,
not a good moment for him at all.
His father.
Anyways, I won't tie you up any longer. Good show as usual.
All right, Mike. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. That was Mike Doyle. And his father would not have made, Mario Cuomo would not have made that mistake. But thank you for the call, Mike. And Mike was, I think, in the studio for the first time recently on the morning show. It was one day last week, I think. But I had forgotten about that aspect of this whole thing. Well, I shouldn't say this whole thing because it's multiple things really with Cuomo. I mean, I guess, or two different things. You've got all the sexual harassment and all the COVID related scandal. But I'd forgotten about that part where Cuomo blamed the nursing home deaths on the nurses. Not a good moment for Governor Andrew Cuomo. Let's see. There were some other things, a couple other things that I wanted to get to, but as always, there's so much. Oh, here, let's do this. I want to do something positive because I had commented on this recently, and I am pleasantly surprised by this. Reuters reporting 1 year into pandemic, skies begin to clear over U.S. economy. I haven't had a chance to actually look at this story in detail, so I'll read some of it and we'll go through it together. But the thing that I've been pleasantly surprised about is that the economy appears, who really knows, right? Economics is all theory. That's why there's different theories of economics. It's not, we don't refer to it as economic science. We call it economic theory because when you're talking about economics, it's not an exact science. It's all theory. And, then there's different economic theories like, Democrats tend to favor Keynesian economics and Conservatives tend to favor supply side economics, or there's another term for it, but that escapes me. But I have been pleasantly surprised that the general vibe, for lack of a more eloquent way of putting it, among economists seems to be that we're poised for a pretty strong rebound, because one of the things that's, that people have been very worried about, is the long-term effects economically of this pandemic and the, shutdowns that we did. Jeez, it's hard to believe, but about a year ago now, when things started closing. I remember here in New Hampshire, it was St. Patrick's Day is this month, right? I should know that. I should be embarrassed I don't know that for sure, because I'm Irish, so I should know. I'm Irish and German, but I'm not much of a drinker, so it doesn't matter to me. It's not like I go out and party, and I don't look good in green. But and I can't speak with an Irish brogue, although I wish I could, because it sounds like it's a lot of fun to be able to talk that way. But we talk a lot and we think about, we all know that the economic impact of what's happening is devastating. And that's why, the Senate's about to vote on the $1.9 trillion relief package, stimulus package, and hopefully a lot more help is coming. But, and obviously whatever good economic forecasts there might be long-term, that is of little consolation to someone who is, living in poverty at the moment, and who maybe was doing just fine before the pandemic, but they've been driven into poverty, maybe because of a loss of a job, or a loss of a business, or a loss of a home, all kinds of terrible things that are happening to people as a result of all this. However, I've been pleasantly surprised by the relatively positive economic outlook, in that economists generally across the board seem to think that the recovery is going to be robust and will be quick, relatively speaking, and that we're not going to see things drag on for years and years of anemic economic growth, that the economy will rebound quickly. Now, the last time we were in a pretty precarious place, and, it's easy to make a comparison between this and the Great Depression, but the last time we were in a pretty economically precarious place, worse than say the recession of the early 90s, for example, which was mild in comparison, what would be the Great Recession at the end of 2007 into 2008. Or actually, no, I'm sorry, at the end of 2008, right? Time has become such a blur over the last 4 years. Anyway, the Great Recession, and, when that was pretty devastating, and that was a pretty severe economic impact pretty quickly when things started to fall apart. I guess it started with the housing market, depending who you believe, with those subprime mortgages. A lot of economists will tell you that was what kind of triggered that domino effect. But, and then we saw an economic recovery, but it was, I think I've read that it was the slowest, most sluggish economic recovery in history. It was a recovery. There's no doubt about that. The economy recovered, and was doing pretty well at the end of the Obama administration, but it was a slow recovery, and it was sluggish. And the general consensus seems to be that this recovery will be quick and will be strong, and that we may, within a year from now, this economy could be booming. That is assuming, cautious optimism here, but that is assuming that we've defeated COVID. And there's light at the end of the tunnel. We've got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine now authorized for emergency use and whatnot. These variants are concerning. These variants are very concerning and could be the cause of another surge if we don't get people vaccinated quickly enough, and if we don't maintain the safety measures, if people don't continue to wear masks and so forth. But I'm worried about, I haven't heard anyone else say this, but I can't be the only one thinking it. I'm worried about, again, with St. Patrick's Day coming, I'm worried about a post St. Patrick's Day surge. Because if you remember last year, and it varies depending on what state you're in. Last year here in New Hampshire, though, it was right before St. Patrick's Day. The governor said, we're shutting down. We're not going to have bars packed with people while this pandemic seems to be just spiraling out of control. And it was the right thing to do because Massachusetts had already closed their bars. So what would have happened is if and again, I know there's some people listening who will disagree with me, but I understand the economic impact of it for these bar owners, these restaurant owners was devastating. And I will never minimize that or negate that. It is devastating, but it had to be done because Massachusetts had already closed and we would have been flooded with COVID. All those people coming up here. It would have been devastating. And again, like I said, that's not to dismiss or minimize or negate the devastating impact economically to people here. But it's like I said to Mike, I say it all the time. With this whole pandemic, there are no good options. All you can do every step of the way is try to pick what option is the least horrific. They're all horrific. They're all horrendous. They're all bad. You got to just pick the one that is the least bad. And in that moment, that was the least bad option. It wasn't a good option. There were no good options. But what the governor did was the least bad option. And it had to be done. I was surprised initially. I remember, he issued a stay-at-home order. And I was like, oh, wow, I didn't think we'd be doing that here. But then I realized, it was right before St. Patrick's Day. I was like, oh, he had no choice. But economists seem to think that the economy will rebound. Now, this may be something, and look, credit where it's due, and I don't give him credit for much. If you're a longtime listener, you know how I feel about President Trump. But he may have been right about this. He would talk about how once we defeated COVID, he would talk about the V-shaped recovery, how the economy would just bounce back quickly. He may have been right about that. Now, President Biden talks about the K-shaped recovery, which is what we're experiencing now, where, of course, some people, the economic impact, they're on the downside of the K because the economic impact only gets worse as this whole thing drags on because it has dragged on, contrary to what Trump wanted us to believe, right? The pandemic has continued on. I mean, we're making progress with the vaccines and the numbers were improving, although now they've plateaued because of the variants. So we might yet be in some trouble here long term. But so you have on the bottom part of the K, you have people whose economic situation continues to get worse and worse. And then on the upper part of the K, you've got the people who have been fortunate enough to actually thrive and prosper during the pandemic. For example, if you're Jeff Bezos, I think is now the richest man in the country, right? If not the world, his fortunes have only increased because of Amazon, and online shopping obviously has exploded to exponential new heights during this pandemic. So you have, it's an old adage. It's such a cliche. I almost hate to say it, but during this pandemic, it's the greatest example of it, where the poor get poorer and the rich get richer. So I think what Biden is correct when he talks about the K, but I also think it's possible that once COVID is finally behind us, Trump may have been correct when he talked about the V, the way a lot of economists are talking about the rebound effect that the economy is going to have. Because this is unprecedented, what we've done here. Where we actually forced the economy to a halt. It wasn't, like what happened with the Great Recession, or, where, you've got the subprime mortgages and a housing crisis that kind of sends everything off a cliff, or the Great Depression, the stock market crashes and everything goes to hell and there's a run on the banks and all that. This was where we actually said, we have to put the brakes on everything. We have to stop everything and then pump money into the economy through stimulus and hope that this zombified version of the economy is able to just keep walking forward until such time as we're able to bring it back to life. So this is a unique circumstance that we're in. But this is also why I try to tell people, and I know that, the Dave Ridleys of the world, for example, will disagree with me on this, until his last breath. And so many others will too. You've got a lot of people on the right who, thankfully, there's people on the right who do take COVID seriously, but you've also got a lot of people on the right who think that, no, we shouldn't have done anything, to respond to this. I try to tell people, look, you can make this argument all you want to, that, well, if we hadn't done anything, yeah, we'd have a lot more dead people and a lot more sick people, but at least the economy would have kept humming along. And that it was a mistake to intentionally damage the economy in this way. And I don't know why more people on my side of this issue, and it sounds weird to say it that way, my side of the issue, but this whole thing got politicized because we live in an era where everything has to be politicized. Wearing a face mask has to be politicized. Everything has to be politicized. So that's why I say it that way. I'm in favor of the shutdowns and all these mitigation steps. I'm not saying it's been perfect, but, we're in uncharted waters here, right? But I've been in favor of doing all that. I think it's absolutely necessary to do those things. But here's the thing. I don't know why more people on my side of the issue don't make this argument to people on the other side. And the argument is this. Take the humanitarian aspect out of it completely, right? Okay, fine. Let's not even be worried about, well, if we hadn't done anything, more people would be dead. More people would be sick. The humanitarian toll would be exponentially more devastating. Take the humanitarian aspect out of it entirely, and let's just focus 100% on the economy. So you say to me, well, if we hadn't done all of this, the economy would have been fine, would have just kept humming along, would have been great, would have just continued growing. I say to you, BS. We had to do this to save the economy, because if you honestly believe that, let's say instead of 500,000 dead, which is what we're over now, over 500,000, say, God forbid, instead of 500,000, let's say we hadn't done anything and we just allowed this virus to ravage the American population, just completely unchecked, unmitigated. And instead of 500,000, let's say we had 5 million dead, 5 million dead, because we chose to not do anything. Oh, and that's not counting, of course, all the people who survive but have long-term and perhaps even permanent damage from COVID. What do you think would have happened to the economy then if we hadn't shut things down? If we had 5 million dead instead of 500,000, I should say, and we allowed the healthcare system, which in some parts of the country is already on the verge of collapse. Let's say we had let the healthcare system just completely implode, just completely fall in on itself, just collapse entirely. And they're stacking up the dead bodies and so forth, because there's no room at the morgue, and bringing in refrigeration trucks because there's parts of the country where that's literally been the case. Let's say that was the case everywhere. You just let the whole thing fall apart. What do you think would have happened to the economy then? See, that's what these people don't get. They talk about, well, if we hadn't done all of this just to save some lives, just to save your grandma and grandpa, we could have continued to have a great economy. No. Talk to an economist about this. Don't take my word for it. Go online or read some stuff, or better yet, if you know someone who is an economist, perhaps an economics professor at a college or something, talk to them about it, and they'll tell you. No. The economic devastation, had we done nothing, would have not been better. It wouldn't have been fine. The economic devastation actually would have been worse. And more long term, what we did was quick and immediate, but in the long term will be better because we are going to rebound. And again, there's growing optimism. We will rebound more quickly than perhaps we had thought at one point. But I mean, I read one economic analysis that said that if we had allowed the virus to just ravage the American population and not responded to it at all, the economic devastation that would have caused would have been felt for decades. We might not have recovered in our lifetimes economically from it because, again, I'm just speaking loosely, but say instead of 500,000 dead, you had 5 million, 500,000 and counting, by the way. But if instead of 500,000 dead, just say you had 5 million, that's a pretty severe economic impact. Just take, for example, I mentioned because of St. Patrick's Day, I mentioned restaurants and bars. Yeah, they were, again, I'm not ever trying to minimize this, but I understand they were pretty severely economically devastated by shutting down right before St. Patrick's Day last year. I get it, and it's awful. But again, I would say this to those who think that we shouldn't have responded to this at all. What exactly do you think would have happened to the restaurant and bar industry in the long term if we hadn't done that? I'll tell you what would have happened. It's not hard to figure out. The restaurant and bar industry would have been damaged far more severely in the long term had we not done the shutdowns, because you'd have such widespread sickness and death. It would get to a point, and it probably wouldn't take long, before nobody would even want to go anywhere near a bar or a restaurant. And if you own a bar or a restaurant, good luck getting your employees to show up for work every day when people all around them are getting sick and dying. Good luck getting patrons in through the door when everyone's getting sick or dying. See, I don't know why people don't get this. I don't know why so many people act like, well, we shouldn't have sacrificed the economy just for this virus. Trust me, the virus would have sacrificed the economy. All we did was put it on hold. And yeah, we did some very severe damage and people's lives have been devastated. But I'm telling you, it would have been much worse had we not responded the way that we have. And because we responded the way that we have, decisively, drastically, maybe even in a draconian fashion, but we did what we had to do. And because of that, we are poised now for a very strong rebound once we finally have COVID behind us, which could be, again, this is, if we can get ahead of these, we got to get ahead of these variants. But again, cautious optimism, it could be as soon as this summer going into fall. We could have a great fourth quarter if we do this right. One thing, though, that is maddening about it is it actually didn't have to be this way at all, but we don't have the discipline for it not to have been this way. And what I mean by that is we could have not taken the massive hit economically that we took and still mitigated the virus without having to do all the shutdowns if we had done something more like, say, for example, Japan had done. You know what they did in Japan? They drove COVID-19 into the ground very quickly, but they didn't shut everything down. They just got everybody to put on a face mask. It's estimated about 80% of the Japanese population took to wearing face masks publicly and socially distanced. They just applied some discipline and they kept everything open. They just got everybody washing hands, wearing face masks, socially distancing, avoiding mass gatherings, and they didn't have to sacrifice their economy. But we're Americans and, freedom and liberty and blah, 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 blah. So, we couldn't do that because that is something unfortunately we have learned about our country is, apparently, unless people are forced to do the right thing, and that's why we have the shutdowns that we've had, people won't do the right thing. I mean, there's millions of people who, even if we did have 5 million dead, they still wouldn't take COVID-19 seriously at all. And they'd still do what they're going to do and have had their big Super Bowl parties and whatever. But this is what Reuters is saying this afternoon. This popped up. Despite the U.S. economy's near miss with a depression last year and an ongoing coronavirus pandemic that has brought travel to a virtual halt, Jeff Hurst, the chief executive of vacation rental firm Vrbo, sees a boom on the horizon. I'm going to kind of skip down because we're running out of time, but he said the article says that sort of bullish sentiment has increasingly taken root among executives, analysts, and consumers who see the past year of comparative hibernation, from the government-ordered business closings last spring to continued risk avoidance by the public, giving way to a cautious reemergence and green shoots in the economy. Retail expected to rebound very strongly. Again, I'm skipping through a lot of this because we're running low on time, but it says economists' forecasts have risen en masse, with firms like Oxford Economics seeing a juiced-up economy hitting 7% growth this year, more typical of a developing country. That'll be interesting to see if that turns out to be correct. This part's interesting about dodging the depression. As of February 25, about 46 million people in the United States had received at least their first dose of a COVID-19 vaccine, still less than 15% of the population, and not enough to dampen the spread of a virus that has killed more than 500,000 people in the country, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The emergence of coronavirus variants poses risks, and a return to normal life before immunity is widespread could give the virus a fresh foothold. Again, the variants. Nor is optimism global. And then I'm skipping down. In the U.S., the vaccine rollout and a sharp decline in new cases has produced an economic outlook unthinkable a year ago, when the Fed opened its emergency playbook in a terse promise of action and Congress approved the first of several rescue efforts. So this goes on. I don't want to go through the whole thing, but it's just kind of a fairly optimistic look at what could happen. And again, it's all conjecture. Economics is not an exact science. It's all theory. But I appreciate the optimism. I think we probably all do. We only have a few minutes left. Let me give the numbers one more time in case you want to get in with a call before we have to wrap up today. 603-250-6007 if you'd like to join us. 603-250-6007. You can also send a text to 617-917-4476. Tweet me at Matt Connarton, or send an email to matt@mattconnerton.com. And you can also comment at mattconnerton.com. You cannot, of course, comment in the Facebook live chat because if you're just joining us, our Facebook and Channel 97, we're not able to broadcast on right now due to a problem with the camera system here. But that is being worked on, my friends, and will be resolved soon. I also want to remind you, too, the episode of What's the Difference that Jenny and I appeared on from the USUKnetwork.com with our friends Alex Whiteley from the UK and Tom Bruno from Vermont, the state right next door. That is up and available, and I did share the link out for that on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page. So we really enjoyed hanging out with those guys. Before we wrap up, just Neera Tanden, who Biden has nominated to be a budget chief, her nomination has been threatened, and it's just kind of shocking to me. I mean, it's probably about 50-50 at this point on whether or not she'll be confirmed to what is a very important position. But the Republicans that are threatening to vote against her, the reason that they're against her is just stunning to me. Unless there's something else I missed, it appears that the main thing that they have against her is they don't like her tweets. She said some mean things in some mean tweets, and they think that her tweets have been very upsetting and hurtful. Their feelings are hurt by her mean tweets. Now, I think that would be an absurdity in and of itself, but particularly absurd when you consider this is, well, what did we just go through for the last 4 years? We had a president of the United States who some would say his political career was largely built on mean tweets about people, about Democrats. So it's particularly stunning to see these Republicans. I mean, if this is the biggest thing they have against her, I think she's a pretty good nominee, don't you? But they don't like her tweets. So this is from the print. What are the mean tweets that threaten Neera Tanden's nomination as U.S. budget chief? By the way, she's an Indian American. And there are some who are suggesting that maybe some of this is because she's a person of color, but I'll leave that to you to discern for yourself. But here's the article just quickly because we are running short on time. Indian American Neera Tanden, who has been nominated to be Biden's budget chief, faces a tough confirmation process due to her history of mean tweets. Tanden's nomination as the first Indian American and the first woman of color to serve as director of the U.S. Office of Management and Budget, or OMB, is in jeopardy with 4 senators announcing their decision to vote against her. A former aide to Hillary Clinton, Tanden currently runs the D.C.-based think tank Center for American Progress, which you may have heard of. She could be the first high-profile Biden nominee to be rejected by the Senate, especially for a key economic post responsible for managing the $4 trillion federal budget. 4 senators, Democrat Joe Manchin of West Virginia, and by the way, Joe Manchin, I always say he's the Democrat who makes other Democrats the most nervous because he is quite certainly the most conservative Democrat in the Senate. So Joe Manchin of West Virginia and Republicans Susan Collins of Maine, Mitt Romney of Utah, Rob Portman of Ohio, and Pat Toomey of Pennsylvania have announced they will vote against her nomination, citing her past social media behavior. What has drawn suspicion was her decision to delete more than 1,000 tweets after Biden won the U.S. election last year. The administration has, however, said it will continue to support her. Let me skip down here quickly because we're running very low on time. So Joe Manchin, and again, this is a Democrat, Joe Manchin, who was the first to announce his vote against Tanden last Friday, said he feared her partisan remarks would compromise the working relationship between Congress and OMB. Let's see. Skipping down here. I want to find, what are the actual tweets? Well, we're very low on time. Here's an example. So she upset Susan Collins because, in 2018, Tanden slammed Collins during the confirmation hearing of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, who was accused of sexual assault by American academic Christine Blasey Ford. We all remember that. In a deleted tweet, she said, quote, Susan Collins' terrible treatment of Dr. Ford should haunt Collins for the rest of her days, unquote. Oh, my God. So Susan Collins has decided, based on that, Tanden is just unfit to run the OMB. Oh, my goodness. Maybe we'll, if we have time tomorrow, maybe we'll get into a little bit more of that. But it's just, wow. After 4 years of Trump, these Republicans and Joe Manchin Apparently, they're just upset with Neera Tanden's mean tweets. Wow. Oh, my goodness. All right. On that note, we are out of time, my friends. It has been wonderful to have you all with me. And hopefully, as the week progresses, this Facebook Live kerfuffle will get worked out and we'll be able to reintroduce the video aspect of our programs here. But of course, you can always listen to WMNH, not only on 95.3 FM if you're in the Manchester, New Hampshire area, but online at WMNHradio.org. And that is also where we do archive all the shows at WMNHradio.org. So if you missed any part of today's show, that will be up in just a little bit. But thank you, everyone. Wonderful. Oh, by the way, too, before I forget, so Jenny will be either, I assume, joining me in studio tomorrow or calling in tomorrow with a surprise. She has a surprise, but I do not know what the surprise is. So I will be surprised along with all of you, my friends. So I hope it's something good. I hope it's something exciting. I do know that it's something positive. So it is something good. I know that. But and I'm not being coy with you. No need to be coy, Roy. I genuinely do not know what it is. But on that note, thank you all, and I will talk at y'all a little bit later. Bye, everybody. Bundle up. It's supposed to get cold.